Hey guys, what is up? Brand new video here. This one's going to be a movie review for X-Men Days of Future Past. So this was my second most anticipated film of this year, and it's my second most anticipated film of all time, pretty much. Ever since X-Men Last Stand, I've been waiting for the original cast to come back. It's been years since we've seen the original cast, the old Magneto and the old Charles Xavier. It's been ages since we've seen Halle Berry play Storm and, Hugh Jackman play the Wolverine, even though he had his spin-offs. I found this film to be perfect. With Bryan Singer not directing the third X-Men film and First Class, they didn't have the same feel as the first, second and this new one. This new film, I must say, is probably one of the best films of all time. I loved how Bryan Singer came back to direct this new X-Men film. When I heard they were making this new one, I didn't know the storyline, I didn't know who was directing it. I knew that the new First Class was going to be in it, but I didn't know that the original cast was going to be in it, and I didn't know Bryan Singer was coming back, I didn't know the storyline. And slowly as things got released, I got more and more interested. I was so interested, to see the original cast come back for years, and finally when they announced it and they announced that Bryan Singer was coming back, I was so happy, and with the story, from what I heard, it sounded like it was going to be an epic film, and that's what you got. You got this epic blockbuster film. I really can't say I had any problems with it, to be honest. There were a few little things I was like, that could have been improved, but it wasn't a problem at all. The storyline was pretty much as shown in the trailer. Don't want to go into too much depth there. They send the Wolverine back in time to stop the scientists from making these things called the Sentinels, which will pretty much wipe out the mutant race. So he has to go back in time and try and get Magneto and Charles to work together as a team to stop the Sentinels from ever being built and made and stuff like that. On my new ratings list, it's been a while since I've given something a really, really high rating, but this is beyond my ratings list. This is definitely a see in theatre and buy it on Blu-ray movie. Even past that, I would probably see this multiple times in theatres and buy multiple editions of the Blu-ray if they make different editions. It's one that you really, really need to see ASAP and see as many times as you can in theatres, because it was really just spot on. It was perfectly done. The acting was so well done from First Class to now. The First Class cast has upped their game with their acting skills. And considering we haven't seen the old cast in so long, it was surprising to see how well they did stepping back into their shoes, picking up as if they left the characters yesterday, it was really good to see them all back working together as one. As I said, I love the storyline in this. It was such a good storyline. It was good to see, I can't remember what his name is off by heart. He plays in Game of Thrones and stuff, a little midget. Probably a bit, what would you call it? I don't even know the word for it. It's not like racist or whatnot. It's along those lines of, those sorts of words. It's probably like heightness, something along those lines. But, it's got him from which I think he did a really good job. He really did suit the role. My favourite character in the X-Men series is Mystique, or Raven, whatever you want to call her. She's always been my favourite since day one of watching the first X-Men film. But that was from the original trilogy. After that, when Jennifer Lawrence took over, she was still my favourite, but I don't think her character was the same after that, obviously. I just found that her character wasn't as... She's not that good at being Raven as she was in the original trilogy. And Jennifer Lawrence does a great job as Raven. I'm not saying she does a bad job, I'm just saying I really did like the original actress who played Raven rather than Jennifer Lawrence, to be fair. And the other actress was unknown, which I think makes it a lot better, because if you know the actor, it really takes away from a character, I think, knowing who they are, because you sort of relate that person to another character. Like, you know, thinking of Jennifer Lawrence, you directly think of Hunger Games, and I did bring this up during my Godzilla movie review with, you know, Aaron Taylor Johnson being a dad in that movie. He doesn't suit the role because you're thinking of him playing a teenager in Kick-Ass. There's some characters that you can't put in certain movies because you know that you're gonna pitch them as someone else. You sort of get a little vibe of that with Jennifer Lawrence. Sort of, you know, getting that Hunger Games feel with her. Not very much, but you can just sense it there. You know, you're thinking of it. You know, with a lot of the other actors like James McAvoy, you know, Ian McKellen, stuff like that, you don't really sort of match them to other films. I know Sarah McKellen is, you know, always related to The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, I know, but really people like James McAvoy who, you know, haven't really been in that many big things, you can't really compare them or, you know, relate them to other really major films unless you're a massive fan of that actor. But I just found that the original Raven from the original X-Men trilogy was a little better as playing Raven, not as an actress, but as playing Raven the character rather than Jennifer Lawrence. But yeah, this was a magnificent film. The ending was spot on. When it was finishing up in the movie, I was sitting there feeling so happy the way it ended. You know, it was a really good, you know, cinematic moment to, you know, wrap up, you know, all the films that they've done together, because this really is what it is. It's a wrap up of all the films they've done so far with the original trilogy, the Wolverines and First Class. It wraps them all up into one big bundle and gives it not a conclusion because they're not done with the series yet, but a nice, you know, a nice tug in a knot just to bring them all together. So now that they continue, you know, they can pretty much go where they want from here. If you see this film and you see the ending, you know what I'm talking about. They can pretty much go from anywhere they like here. And not to say that they couldn't before, but it looks like it's going to be easy to get storylines out now, because, you know, they've pretty much filled the gap from start to finish now. They can pretty much spin off new stories with the X-Men people. They can pretty much, you know, spin off new stories. They can do a whole new trilogy if they wanted to. But yeah, this is definitely one to check out in theaters. I'm probably going to go see this again within the next week or two, you know, because I just loved it so much. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about in this movie review was, in the trailer, they show a couple of scenes. They have certain lines in them that were cut out from the version. I don't know if it was just cut from the Australian version or if it was cut from the film altogether. If you live in America or the UK, please let me know if this happened in the version that you saw. There were certain bits where they cut out a certain line from that certain scene. For instance, if you saw the trailer, it's not a spoiler because you've seen the trailer, that's why I'm saying this. You got a snippet of James McAvoy. You don't get to see who's talking to, I'm not going to spoil. So in the scene he goes, "I don't want your future!" In the scene, it's sort of changed around a bit. It doesn't really go down like that at all. He sounds more upset than he does in the trailer. I think they, I don't think it was the word suffering they used, I think it was pain. Or something, but it was changed around, and another bit there was another bit they changed around as well. It was the bit where you have the old Xavier versus the young Xavier, and they were face to face with each other. I just saw in the trailer, and he's like, "You're afraid, I remember." That wasn't in the movie, okay? Or at least in the version I didn't see. Well, at least in the version I saw, sorry. But yeah, I found that when they went from the old X-Men crew to the new one, the tones were very different, and I think it's due to the fact that the unit crews, yeah, it's first unit, second unit. I don't know which unit dealt with which crew, but when they dealt with the first class crew, which is James McAvoy and all of them, it had a really light feel to it. It was very, comedic. It was very funny. It was very light. It was all outdoors in the sun, all of that good stuff. And then when it came to the old crew, it was all very dark. It was all very cloudy. It was not very humoristic at all. It was very, it wasn't dull. It was very serious. And then they went back to the other, team or the other younger selves, and it was very very light-hearted. It wasn't as dark as the other one. And you can see why they did it due to the fact that the future is really dark and the past was very light but also very dark at the same time due to the Vietnam War, which was going on during this film, and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. Besides the fact I was happy that they brought everyone back, especially Ellen Page. I think she did a good job, which actually brings me to one more point before I finish up. Some of the members in here I don't think got enough screen time, such as Halle Berry, Ellen Page, and Anna Paquin. I don't think they had enough screen time, to be honest. I found a lot of the other characters had more time than they should have, and I think some others didn't have enough. I mean, it really did focus on the young versions, obviously, but I think they could have added another 20-30 minutes to this film and gave those characters a little bit of extra time on screen, written an extra scene or two for them, and giving them that extra screen time. But you never know, in the next film, which is X-Men Apocalypse, you never know, they could get a whole bunch of screen time. We don't know. But yeah, I was really happy with this film. As I said, it was absolutely spot on to perfection. Very satisfied with this film. It was exactly how I wanted it to be, exactly how I wanted it to finish and end up. And it gave us that. It gave us a smile on our faces. And the cinema I went to was absolutely crowded. There wasn't a seat inside, and that is very rare to see, because sometimes I go to the movies and there's not a living soul in the theatre. But when you can go to the theatre and see a new X-Men movie and the theatre is packed, it is such a good feeling. Sitting in an audience around other people that love, movies, that love the same sort of movies that you do, and, are experiencing the same thing as you, is so good. And a lot of people I noticed walked out before the credits finished. Do not walk out of the credits. In a Marvel film, you never, ever walk out of the credits until you see the after credits scene, because in every single Marvel film there is an after credits scene. Now, in saying that, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 American edition did not get an after credits scene, but every other country did. The new Marvel, the new X-Men one, not going to spoil what happens in it, is when it was going into the after credits scene, you didn't know what it was for. You honestly didn't. It was zooming in on something, I'm not going to say what, and you're sitting there going, what is this for? And you're thinking, you're running through in your head, what's coming out next? You're like, Guardians of the Galaxy, you're like, no, that's already got a trailer. And then you're like, oh, Avengers, and you're like, no, it doesn't fit the setting. And then, you're trying to think, you're like, Marvel doesn't have any other films, oh, maybe Ant-Man. No, not really the setting either. And then after it finished, like, not going to spoil, because you really have to watch it yourself. So if you are planning on seeing this film this weekend, stay for the end of the credits, because then a lot of people walked out, at least half the theatre walked out before the credits finished. And also during the credits, did anyone notice how big the digital artist list was again? I did mention this in my last Godzilla review, link down below for that, because I'm mentioning a lot. How big is that? I think they're getting ridiculously big with the digital artist list. I think it was just as big as the Godzilla one. I'm not joking. If it happens again, in the next big franchise movie, which is probably, from my memory, The Hobbit, which is the next big one. I'm gonna record it if it has a big digital artist. I'm gonna show you guys what I mean. Honestly, even better. Next time I go see the X-Men film again within the next week or two, I will film it and I will upload it to show you guys how big the digital artist is for people who aren't going to stay during the credits, or people, you know, who may have missed it, which is really hard not to, or people who haven't even seen the film, for instance. But anyway, sorry for taking up so much of your time. It's probably a really long review. I've got a lot of editing to do, so I hope you guys enjoyed.